I never thought I would speak about what happened to me. For years, I buried the memory deep inside, unsure how to describe it, unsure if anyone would even believe me. But something inside me changed. There came a moment where staying silent felt more painful than telling the truth. So here I am. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a journey into death and beyond, and back. It's not just about what I saw, but who I became. If you've ever questioned what's beyond this life, or wondered what your pain means, then stay with me. What I'm about to share could shift something in you, the same way it did for me. There was a time in my life when everything seemed to collapse at once. On the surface, things looked fine, even enviable. I had a stable job, a family, and the kind of life people associate with success. But behind closed doors, I was disintegrating. My marriage was quietly bleeding out. The man I had once loved had turned cold and distant. Trust was a distant memory, replaced by a gnawing sense of betrayal I couldn't shake off. Our home, once filled with laughter and warmth, echoed with silence and resentment. I told myself things would change, that we just needed time. But deep down, I knew that I was lying to myself every single day. I was also a mother. My son Leo was born with a neurological condition that left him in a wheelchair. He was my light, my reason to breathe. But caring for him, while emotionally fulfilling, was also exhausting. The nights were long, filled with anxiety and endless to-do lists. I often woke up in panic, my chest tight with fear that I wasn't doing enough. The guilt never left me. I loved him more than words could ever express, and yet I constantly felt I was failing him. My energy was drained, my identity blurred. Somewhere along the way, I had forgotten who I was beyond being a wife and a mother. Then came the betrayal. I discovered that my husband had been cheating, not just with anyone, but with someone close to me, someone I trusted. That revelation hit like a truck. I felt like I was suffocating under the weight of it. My world became small, my body heavy, my mind clouded. I started having physical symptoms, a persistent pain in my left arm, fatigue that sleep couldn't fix, and a strange fog that never cleared. I brushed it off, telling myself I just needed to rest, to be strong for Leo. But the truth was, I was breaking, and I was alone in that breakdown. I remember looking at myself in the mirror one morning and not recognizing the woman staring back. My eyes looked hollow, and my skin was pale. I had stopped laughing, stopped dreaming. I was moving through life on autopilot, performing roles but not living. No one saw it. Not really. I smiled when I had to, nodded in conversations, but inside, I was numb. I wanted to scream, but I had no voice. I wanted to collapse, but I kept standing, because that's what I thought strength meant. Endurance, even when it slowly killed me. One night, the pain in my arm became unbearable. It shot through me like fire, but I still didn't go to the hospital. I thought maybe it was stress, maybe it would pass. That night, I remember thinking, this can't be the end. I haven't even started living yet. And yet, something in me also whispered, maybe it is. I had no idea that night would change everything, that I would come face to face with death, and something far greater than death. Looking back now, I see that the breakdown was the beginning of a breakthrough. But at the time, it felt like pure destruction. Everything familiar was crumbling, and in that collapse I was stripped bare. Every illusion, every false identity, gone. I was being prepared for something I didn't understand, something I wasn't sure I believed in. But sometimes, it's only when you lose everything that you finally see what matters. And that's exactly what happened to me. If you're in a place where everything feels like it's falling apart, don't look away. Lean in, because pain, as cruel as it is, can also be the doorway to transformation. Stay with me. This is only the beginning. I remember the night vividly. There was a poker game at a friend's house. Something simple, something to distract me. I needed to feel like myself again, even just for a few hours. The laughter around the table felt like medicine. I wasn't Leo's tired mom. I wasn't the betrayed wife. I was just me, present, laughing, alive. I can still hear the sound of the chips clinking, the jokes being passed around. I remember leaning back in my chair and thinking, maybe I'll be okay. For the first time in a long time, I had a sliver of peace. I didn't know that sliver would soon be shattered. That someone would walk through the door and take it all away again. He walked in drunk, stumbling, eyes bloodshot. My husband. His presence was like a black cloud swallowing the room. The joy vanished. Conversations died. He told me to come home. Ordered me, really. The words weren't loud, but the threat in his voice screamed louder than anything. I froze. The old fear returned. The fear I'd buried under routine and silence. I should have said no. I should have stayed. But something in me, maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion, stood up and followed. I told myself it would be quick, that I could go back to the life I was trying to rebuild tomorrow. But that night, tomorrow never came. At least, not in the way I expected. He handed me the keys to his new car and told me to drive. I didn't want to. I had never driven it before. I didn't feel safe. But he insisted, slurring his words, laughing at my hesitation. I didn't argue. I wish I had. The air inside the car was thick with tension. I gripped the wheel, my hands cold, my pulse racing. He started talking, at first about us, then about everything I had done wrong. His apologies melted into accusations. One moment he was begging, the next he was blaming. I focused on the road, trying to keep calm, trying to make it home, and then he reached over. His hand wasn't gentle, it was forceful. He grabbed my hand, then my wrist, and before I knew it, he was on top of me. I couldn't breathe. His forearm pressed into my throat as he shouted something I couldn't make out. My foot slipped off the gas. The car slowed, but the terror inside me accelerated. I scratched at his arms, trying to push him away, but he was stronger, fueled by alcohol, by anger, by something I couldn't name. My vision started to blur. The edges of the world turned black. My body fought. My mind screamed. But my soul, it began to let go. I thought of Leo, of what he would do without me. That was my last thought before everything went dark. Not fear, not rage, just him, his little face, waiting for me to come home. Then it happened. I was no longer in the car. I was above it, floating, watching. I saw myself, my body, slumped in the seat. I saw him shaking me, screaming my name, and I felt nothing. No panic, no pain, only peace. It was as if someone had switched off the noise of life and replaced it with silence. A warm, golden silence. Then came the light, brighter than anything I've ever seen. But it didn't hurt my eyes. It pulled me in, wrapped around me like a hug I didn't know I needed. I moved toward it, not walking, not flying, just existing. And for the first time in years, I wasn't tired. I wasn't broken. I wasn't afraid. I just was. The deeper I went, the more I felt. Love, but not the kind we talk about here. This was absolute, unconditional, healing. I could feel everything and nothing all at once. The boundaries of my identity melted. I was part of something infinite. I wasn't alone. There was a presence, not a person, but a consciousness. It knew me, all of me, and it loved me. It didn't ask questions. It didn't judge. It simply welcomed. In that space, all the pain of my life made sense. Every tear, every scar, every betrayal, it all connected. I saw it. I understood it. And for a moment, I didn't want to go back. But something shifted. A vision unfolded before me. My son, grown, walking, smiling, holding a child, his child. I saw him speak on stages, touch lives, inspire people with his story. I saw his strength, his courage, his light, and I knew I had to return. Not for me, for him. My mission wasn't finished. My role in his story wasn't done. As much as I wanted to stay in that place of peace, I couldn't abandon him. He was my why, the love that tethered me to life. And so I chose. I chose to come back, to breathe again, to fight again, even if it hurt. What came next was darkness, not peaceful, not golden. Heavy, cold, consuming darkness. The light disappeared and I was falling, but not through space, through fear. I was in another realm, one I can only describe as despair made manifest. I saw souls, not in flames, not in chains, but in agony, trapped in cycles of guilt, regret, shame. It wasn't punishment, it was reflection, a mirror showing them their own lives, their own choices, their own truths. Some cried out, Some didn't even know they were suffering. And I realized, we carry our pain with us. We create our own torment. And unless we heal it here, we take it with us there. I felt myself pulled through that place, not by force, but by understanding. It wasn't just what I was seeing, it was what I was feeling. Every soul around me was a story, and somehow I could feel their pain, their decisions, their regrets. Some had hurt others, some had hurt themselves, but most were simply lost, unable to forgive, unable to let go. There was no fire, no brimstone, just the unbearable weight of unhealed wounds. I asked the presence beside me, not with words, but with thought, why they were trapped. And the answer came, not as a voice, but a knowing. It wasn't about punishment. It was about choice, about resonance, about the echoes of how we live and love, or don't. In that realm of shadows, something surprising happened. I began to feel compassion. Not fear, not judgment, but a deep, aching compassion. For them, for myself, for all of us. We're all so quick to condemn, to label, to run from the darkness. But what I saw down there wasn't evil. It was woundedness, looping over and over again, hoping to be seen, hoping to be healed. I realized I had wounds of my own. Anger I hadn't faced, bitterness I clung to, fear I refused to name. And somehow, that place showed me that even my own suffering was a door, if I had the courage to walk through it. The pain we avoid becomes the prison we live in. I didn't want that anymore. I remember the moment I felt the pull, that gentle, invisible thread tugging at me, back toward life, back toward my body. I wasn't ready, not yet, but something in me knew. This journey wasn't meant to end here. I had more to do, more to give, more to become. And so, I allowed it. I let go of that dimension and surrendered to the return. The descent back into my body was sharp, violent, like falling through glass. I gasped as air filled my lungs again. My chest burned, my muscles screamed, but I was alive. And something in me, something ancient, whispered, "You've been given a second chance. Don't waste it." The world looked different, dimmer, slower, as if I was looking at life through a foggy window. I remember seeing his face, my husband, pale, terrified, trembling. He tried to speak, tried to hold me, but I recoiled. His hands, once familiar, now felt foreign. I stumbled out of the car, my legs weak, my heart stronger than ever. The night air hit my face like ice. I breathed it in as if it were sacred. I looked at him, and I didn't see the man I had loved. I saw the choices, the damage, the path he refused to change. And for the first time in years, I spoke clearly. It's over, not with rage, but with finality, with truth. Leaving that night wasn't just about walking away from him. It was about walking back to myself, to the woman I used to be, and to the one I was becoming. The journey after that wasn't easy. Recovery never is. My body healed slowly. The bruises faded, but the emotional scars, they took longer. Nights were filled with flashbacks. I cried, I screamed, I doubted everything, but I didn't stop. I sought therapy. I told the truth. I let people in. I opened up about what I saw, even the parts that sounded unbelievable. And to my surprise, people listened. Some cried. Some shared their own stories. And I realized we're all searching for meaning in the dark. Leo became my lighthouse. Watching him adapt, watching him smile despite the struggle, it reminded me of the vision I'd seen, of him walking, laughing, living fully. That image became my compass. I worked hard to rebuild our lives. We moved into a new home, just us. We decorated it with colors that made us feel alive again. I returned to work, slowly, carefully, and I began to write. At first, it was just journaling, but soon, I found myself speaking to friends, to support groups, to anyone who needed to know that death isn't the end, and neither is despair. That love, real, raw, radiant love, is still worth fighting for. And now, I speak to you. Maybe you've felt the darkness. Maybe you've stood at the edge of something unbearable. Or maybe you're just searching, like I was, for a reason to keep going. Let this story be a sign. You don't need to die to be reborn. You don't need to break to become whole. But if you have, If you're in pieces right now, know this. Pieces can become mosaics. Scars can become symbols. And your life, no matter how broken it feels, still has meaning. Choose to breathe again. Choose to rise. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Your story isn't over. Not even close. If you've made it this far, thank you. That means something. It means you're open. It means you're searching. And maybe, just maybe, it means you felt something stir inside of you. This wasn't just my story. It was a mirror. A reflection of what so many of us go through silently. Pain, loss, betrayal, questions we're too afraid to ask out loud. But here's what I've learned. You don't need all the answers to take the first step. You just need the courage to keep going. To keep choosing life, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. If something in this story spoke to you, if you saw yourself in my journey, then I invite you to go deeper. Don't just listen. Act. Open your heart. Call out to the one who met me in the light. The one who held me in the silence beyond death. His name is Jesus. And he's not distant. He's not unreachable. He's here. With you. Right now. And he's calling you to come home. Don't wait for a near-death experience to open your eyes. Let this be your wake-up call. Let this be the moment that shifts everything. Subscribe to this channel and follow Jesus. Don't just click a button. Make a decision. A real one. A forever one. If you feel that tug in your heart, that's not emotion. That's eternity knocking. You were made for more than survival. You were made for purpose. You were made to walk in truth, in love, in light, and He is the way, the truth, the life. Your pain isn't wasted. Your past doesn't disqualify you. You're still breathing, and that means your story isn't finished. Let God rewrite it with you. Share this video with someone who needs it. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, or maybe it's someone you haven't spoken to in years. Be the vessel. Be the voice. You never know what one story can awaken in someone else's life. And if you've been carrying questions about what happens after this life, know that there is hope. There is healing. There is life after death, but there is also life before it, and it's worth living fully. Leave a comment below. Tell me what part of this story touched you. I read every single one. You're not just a viewer. You're part of this journey now. And if you need prayer, say it. If you're struggling, say it. This is a space of grace, a space of truth, a space where healing begins with honesty. You don't have to walk alone. I didn't, and neither do you. To everyone watching, thank you. Truly, thank you for opening your heart, for listening with your soul, for showing up not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. You matter. Your life matters. And no matter how far you've gone, there's always a road back home. I hope you'll take that road. I hope you'll keep walking it. And I hope to meet you somewhere along the way. Until then, stay close. Stay hopeful. Stay connected. I'll be here waiting, ready to walk with you again in the next story. Until then, may peace flood your heart, and may you know beyond any doubt, you are deeply loved. We'll talk soon.